Hello everyone, my name is Hassan. Today I'm going to show you some basic stuff like how to run Jenkins in AWS machine. So if you search for Jenkins in AWS, you will probably land into these documentations, which is coming up straight up from Jenkins, right? So instead of memorizing all these steps, I would say try to understand the concept and follow the instruction, because this might be uh, might be different year from now or a couple of years from now, because things get changed, right? So it's Jenkins responsibility to update their documentation. So instead of memorizing, try to understand the concept, read through this, right, and then try to follow this, and it should be straightforward. However, still I'm going to show you how to get this done, and some of this stuff I'm going to ignore because it's way too much to follow. So however, I'm going to show you make sure you are able to access the Jenkins, and then remaining part I won't be showing up in this video. All right, so in this video I'm just going to show you how to create a machine in the AWS instance, right? And then spin up the Jenkins within that machine and access the Jenkins from the browser. That's our main goal in this video. So let's go back to the AWS, right? You can create your own account. I just did for 12 months. It's free. So when you come to this, you're gonna come to AWS console, right? And you can search for EC2. Okay, EC2, click on it, and then before we create any machine, we're going to create a couple of things in order to access this machine, to get into this machine, AWS machine, EC2 instance. You need to somehow need to have some sort of key. So we're going to create the key first, then we'll create a security groups, and then we're going to create the machine. You can do both, either way. You can straight go to the launch instance and create the keys right here. I rather personally like to do it before we create the machine. So we're gonna go ahead. So I have 0 machines running right now, so I'm going to create a key first. Okay, all right, so create new key. Son Jenkins key. All right, and you can put a tag. You can say name and keep the same name, Son Jenkins key. Create a key, and it will go ahead and download this, right? Jenkins key right here. All right, then next thing we're gonna do is the security group. We're gonna go ahead, and by default there is one, but we're gonna create our own security group so you understand. So I'm gonna say Son Jenkins security group, right? And we're gonna create some rules so that way we can access the Jenkins machine, and we can SSH into the Jenkins machine. So in order to SSH, we're going to say SSH, and then there are 2 different versions of IPs. So I think my IP version is 4 right now, but to be in the safer side, you can choose 2 different rules, one for v4, one for v6. So I'm going to do with v4 right now. So this is to SSH into EC2 instance, right, using IP version 4, right? And then you can create another one for where is it, SSH. Okay, SSH, you can do it for version 6 as well if you want, but you don't need to, right? So find out which SSH the IP version you are using. And then second thing, the most important thing is somebody need to access this, so we're gonna say HTTP, and then it also has IP4 and 6, so we're gonna say 4, right? And we're gonna update this message. This is to access the Jenkins from browser using IP4, and then we can copy this, create another one called HTTP, then version 6. So add the description, it's easier to understand, right? If you want to create a key, and then just can say name, right? And then Sun Jenkins security group, okay? And then finally done, create security group, description, okay. All right, let's create this. So security group has been created, key has been created, right? And then now we can go back to the instance. I had one instance which is terminated, so it's not working right now, as you can see. So we're gonna create launch instance, right? So we're gonna put a name, so we can say like, you know, Sun Jenkins QA server, whatever you want to name it, okay? So that's my name, that's the value of the machine, okay? And we're gonna go straight up with Amazon Linux. The most important thing in here, which one that you need to choose. So based on the documentations, let's look at the documentation. So we did this, we came here, created the security groups, we created the key, now we are launching, so they're using this HVM to AMI. That's most important part here. So let's do this. I'm sure it's going to work on this as well, but let's follow the instruction. And then this is the only free tier they have, so we have no other options but choosing the free one. And the key pair, so we already created the key, right? If you just click on it, you can see the key that you just created from the drop down menu. Just click on it, right? And then network setting, we already created the security group, so we can say select existing security group, and then search for the one that you just created in the drop down list, which is this Hassan Jenkins SG for security group. And here, this is the catching part. Free tier eligible customer can get up to 30, so why not grab some more space, right? So you can say 25, where is it, 25 at least instead of 30. That's fine. And then you can say launch instance. So what it's going to do by clicking on it, under the AWS, using the EC2 service, we're going to create a machine, and this is going to be Linux machine, right? So let's go ahead and spin up this machine. All right, so let's go back to the instance. It takes a couple of minutes, so let's go ahead and let AWS configure this machine and everything. But meanwhile, we can read a couple of things. So they give you one IP address which is publicly can be accessed, which is this, and this is your private IPv4 version IP address, right? And if you go back to the details, you can see it's an Amazon Linux machine. Platform is Linux and Unix. What else can be shown in here? The security, right now we are using the group that we are using, so you can double check, make sure you're using the group that you just created, right? All right, let's go back to the group 1 second, because trying to understand the protocol is TCP, all of them. Why? All right, or the type, okay, so yeah. All right, and if you need more groups, you can come back to more inbound rules. You can come back here and you can say edit inbound rules, right? And then you can click on it and you can add whatever you need, okay? So you can select whatever the things you need from here, right? The type, and then you can choose from. All right, so since we have everything that we need for Jenkins to up and running, so we're not gonna we're not gonna edit any more rules into this inbound, okay? So we're gonna keep the old one, whatever we have so far. So let's go back to our machine, EC2 machine. Let's see if it's ready or not. It's running. It's still status needs to be checked, so we need to wait for them to fully up and running our instance, the Linux instance, right? Beside that, go back to the networking. inside the networking, like we don't have anything to confirm, but yes, security tags should be the same. Yes, that's fine. Status check still initializing, so we need to give a couple of seconds. So you can hit the refresh button, see what's the status. It takes a couple of minutes, so there is nothing we can do. This is on AWS. They have to give us the machine before we start working on it. All right, but it's running, so let's give a couple of more minutes. And once you're done with your practice and everything, you can go back to the instant state, and then you can terminate, right? Because you don't want to keep it open all the time, and then they send you the bill and everything, right? So once you're done with your testing and everything, make sure you terminate the instance. All right, let's go ahead and refresh one more time, see what's going on. It's still initializing it, so let's give a couple of minutes. And then meanwhile we can read the documentations, right? So we did this, we did that, so we need to wait, like status check is two checks, make sure everything is good. Once it's done, we need to go ahead and connecting to your Linux instance, right? So what we need to do, if you're a Windows user or like some sort of graphical user interface user, then you can use the PuTTY to connect to your machine, but I personally like SSHing from my terminal. So what I have to do is, in order to SSH into my machine, is that I need to go ahead, open my terminal in my Mac. In Windows you can use the command from as well, so I'm going to make it a little bigger. So I need the key, right? So my keys is inside the download folders, right? So I'm gonna say cd downloads, right? And if I do ls, I should have my keys in here, right? So now how to connect this machine, right? The AWS also gonna give you good instruction to connect. So now everything is good, so we're gonna go back in here, we can say connect, right? And in here they said, like, run this command if necessary to ensure your key is not publicly viewable. So we're gonna copy this command, we're gonna go back to our terminal and then paste it. Okay, press enter. Now we're good, we're giving permission to connect, and then finally we're going to copy this SSH line right here. So pretty much what is saying in here, SSHI, this is the name of the key, and then this is my machine, right? URL, which you can get it from right here. Okay, all right, so I copy that the URL from here, connect again. The first command I fired, which is in line number 3, step number 3, and then finally copy everything that is in example, go back to my terminal, and then just fire this. Once it's good, just say yes, and then finally you are in Amazon Linux 2 AMI. Okay, so I'm not in my machine anymore, I am remotely logged into the EC2 instance, which is Amazon Linux 2. Okay, if you say who am I am a EC2 users, right? If you say pwd, you are in home directory EC2 users. So we're gonna do everything inside the EC2 user locations, right? So let's clear this out, we'll do everything in here right now. So we are remotely logged in or signed in into the Amazon Linux machine right now. Okay, so let's go back to the documentations. We did this, everything is done right here. Pretty much they are asking us to do update our yum, right, which is our runtime. All right, so let's do update. There is nothing much to update, so it was so quick. Let's go ahead, follow the next one. So copy this guy, line number 2, go back to the machine, go back to the terminal, fire this command, and it does whatever it needs to do, and then finally copy this. Again, nothing to memorize, just following the instruction, right? And then sudo yum upgrade. Sudo means, like, you are root user, or like, you are a super user in this machine, so make sure you don't have permission stuff, right? Make sure whatever you are telling to do, they will do whatever, because you are a sudo, right? You're not a regular basic user. So I'm sure you know what is the difference between sudo and the regular user, right? And then the next command, we need the Java to be installed in order to run the Jenkins. So we're going to install Java and let the Java install. It's going to take a couple of minutes, and we're in Linux 2. That's why we're going to skip the 2023, because our machine is Linux 2 AMI, right? All right, finally, once Java is done, we're going to install Jenkins, right? That's what our main goal is. All right, so Java is done. You can quickly check if the Java has been installed or not. So you can say Java hyphen version, right? They will tell you that you have Java 11. I think for Jenkins in 2023 you need Java either 11 to 17. So you cannot have, right now the current version in the market is 20, Java 20, but since Jenkins support 11 to 17, so rather be in the safe side, so go with the 11. Okay, now the next thing is we're going to install Jenkins in our machine. So let the Jenkins install. Once it's installed, we need to fire this command saying enable the Jenkins service to start at boot. So if your machine somehow need to be reboot, and if you start it again, automatically Jenkins will start it for you. All right, so let's go ahead, and it's still installing it. Okay, so we're gonna do that, and then finally we're going to start the Jenkins. All right, go back here, start the Jenkins. Once it's done, the next comment is pretty much nothing, just to check if the status, if the Jenkins is up and running, right? And then we can follow this, right? Once Jenkins start, they're supposed to give you some sort of initial admin password. If not, then we can find this command to grab this key, because we need that key in order to get into the Jenkins through the UI. So this is still taking some time, because Jenkins is going to start soon. Okay, so this is done. Now let's see, in order to stop the Jenkins, you can fire the command called stop, right? And we're going to check the status. So the command is status, right? And then they will tell us if it's running or not. Okay, so you're going to see active and it's running. Okay, all right, and it's running in port 8080. You see this? It's running in port 8080. All right, cool. And then we do need that admin key, which is can be found in here, but they also put it in here for us, right? So if you somehow miss these things, you can check the status, and in the status they give you the key. If not, then find the command that in the documentations, right, which is this sudo cat means copy, right? Go back here, find this command, and as you can see, this one and this one is the same key, that name. All right, so most important thing is right now they are telling us go connect your public server and then port 8080. So we're gonna go back to our instance, and this is our public, right? So we're gonna say open. Now here is the fun part, right? If it's open, it open in HTTPS. So you're gonna say HTTP. This is most important part, HTTP, and then port is 8080. If you press enter, you should start seeing the Jenkins. All right, what's going on? Let's try this one. Open address, HTTP 8080. All right, let's look at the security group. Did we miss any sort of outbound or inbound. Okay, let's look at the security group here. Create a security group. Okay. Alright, add a rule SSH to do this, add rule HTTP, we did this, port range should be 8080, add a rule custom TCP rule, type the list under. Okay, so now I think we missed this one, add rule, then select custom TCP rule from the type list 8080 from HTTP. Okay, so let's see. Okay, maybe that's why we're not able to access this. So let's go to the security groups. And then go back here, we can say edit inbound, so HTTP, right? Okay, instead of all this custom TCP, we can say for now all traffic, and all traffic, that means everything, right, for now. And then so instead of saying 8080, we're saying all, save rule. And now let's try it again. If not, we're going to stop the Jenkins and start the Jenkins. All right, so now it started working. So if you use the long URL, it works. If you use the short URL, it should also work. Let's see. Yeah, it works. So now let's go back to the terminal. We're gonna copy this key and then go inside the machine. Continue. Never. Not now. And install all the tools that you need. All right, you can put your username and everything, right? So we can say excuse me. All right, I'm going to put a easy password because I'm going to delete this machine right after this video ends, so it's fine. All right. Save and continue. Finish it up. Start using Jenkins, and we're done. All right, so we have the Jenkins ready, up and running. So you can put your credentials and you can start using it, right? So if I sign out or log out, I can put my credential, which my credential username was HassanYC and then password was test123. I can sign in. I can use the long URL, do the same thing, right? Password is test1234, log in, and then I can start creating my own project, right? Which you guys already know. So but the main scope, the scope was for this video is just like how to spin up the Jenkins into the Linux server. Now the one more important thing that I want to talk about it is that this machine is good, right? And this IP address constantly changing because you're not paying for it, right? So tomorrow you come, this IP address is pretty much the same, right? 18.232.617, right? This IP address constantly gonna change. So if I tell you this IP address today, tomorrow it might be different. So you're not gonna be able to access the Jenkins. So what we can do is that we can go to the elastic IPs, means you can get an IP address which is going to be dedicated to you only, and you can replace the public IP with this. So we can go ahead and create a new private IP address for us. So we can say name, right? And then you can say Hassan private or static IP Jenkins, whatever you want to call it, and then allocate it. So now this IP address is my allocated IP address. It's only for me, right? And in the world pretty much. Okay, so now we can go back to this elastic IP address, click on this associate elastic IP address to some with our instance. We're gonna go ahead and say associate elastic IP address. Now they're gonna ask for instance, and we have only one instance running right now, which is Hassan Jenkins, right? And then allow this elastic IP address to be de-associate. That's totally up to you or not, so you say associate. Now as soon as we did that, right, this IP has been used for our EC2 instance. So if you go back to our EC2, right, if you go back to our instance here, it was public before, now we have private. So this EC2 the IP address, which is 3218.174.167, would never change. Okay, and anybody in the world can access this. So if I go back here and then put 8080 and remove the S in it, if I give you this URL right now, you can access it from anywhere in the world. If you go back here, you have new URL. Okay, so this is it. If you have any questions, let me know. So just to do a recap is that go through the documentations, nothing to memorize, right? A jenkins.io.doc, I will put it into the in the description, right? And I'm not gonna give you any command like to fire or anything, because everything is really self-explanation in the documentations from the Jenkins, right? Only thing I'm going to say that try to create the key, and then if you want to create the elastic IP, because you know like this public IP is constantly changed every other day or every day, so create one. You can create I think up to 5 elastic IP address for free, but please do that research and don't take my words. Do the research and find out. But once testing is done, you should be stop releasing the IP address and delete this, and then create the key pairs first, right? And then create the instance. So again, create the key pairs, create the elastic IP, create the security groups, then go ahead, create your instance. And when you create the instance, make sure you are using, for this video especially if you want to follow me, that you use AWS Linux, Amazon Linux, and then the instance types as default, and the image AMI should be using AWS Linux 2, okay, in order to follow this. If you don't use the 2 and if you use the 2023, I think in the documentations you can, if you use the 23, then you need to use this, but if you use the Amazon Linux, then I would say use this command. So just to be in the safe side, use AWS Linux 2, which is right here. Okay, so you just need to change this. Instead of 2023, just do this one. Okay, and the finally most important thing is it's HTTP, not HTTPS in the URL. Okay, just to be in the safe side, HTTP. Okay, not HTTPS. So when you copy, let's go back to the instance that is running. Okay, so when you copy this address, right, make sure you change the HTTPS to HTTP, and then add the port at the end, which is 8080. All right, if you have any questions, please add a comment and let me know, and I can reply you back. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.